Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. There's a brand new video. I'm like shaking in the chair. I was going like this. I don't know what I was doing. Really, I was like, there's a brand new video every 24 hours. If you have not seen any news in the last, it feels like 2 weeks at this point, apparently Bitcoin is and is going to become boring. If you haven't seen, this is the weird part. I mentioned before, we have tripped into a new reality, as it were. We have had a substantial amount of news recently about ETFs, companies buying Bitcoin, companies buying Ethereum, stable coins on top of these chains. You've seen it. It's literally been the main thing over the course of this year that we've heard about. Apparently now, the discussion is revolving quite clearly around one thing, and I do assume this has to do with this cycle or lack thereof. We got news at the beginning of 2 weeks ago. Actually, it's even further back, but it began to mount a little recently about the idea of the end of Bitcoin cycles. For those of you who missed that, you might have at some point. Bitcoin appears to be on a very different trajectory than it has been before. We are seeing less drama and hype surrounding Bitcoin halvings, and this appears to be making Bitcoin less volatile and more boring, as it were. So the normal movements that we would see that kind of catapult us higher, according to analysts, might be done, and or they might be less severe. So we might see movements of 7% over the course of a week as opposed to a 28% movement. This then lends into the idea that cycles might be over as we know them, and that we might have entered into a brand new space and time, if you will, where cryptocurrency investors find the market no longer entertaining or hype-filled, but more so it's just the idea would be a slow movement upward. And I say this way, I think that we've been getting this news so close together quite recently because we are normally at the point in the market where the explosions and like the fireworks really begin to take off within the market. This is a well-known thing. It is the year after the halving. Towards the end of that year, we tend to see these like dramatic price movements, and it's not to say that we won't. However, everyone's kind of parroting the same thing, indicating that they think, or that the market says, or that things might have shifted in a certain direction. So, after we've been getting this news quite closely, and some days we have a couple of companies, institutions, well-knowners within the space saying the same thing. This one is also, I was like, okay. It takes a lot to be able to admit that. We had one recently, 3 or 4 days ago. There was someone, it was two companies who both announced, they said, yeah, Bitcoin is definitely on its way to $1 million, but the track there, in the next, they said 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years is not gonna be a crazy one. They claimed instead of having these 80 to 90% drops in prices or drawbacks in price, we might only see like a 5% drop and then it slowly goes back up again. You know him very well. He makes sure that he is in the news daily. His name is Michael Saylor. He is the head of MicroStrategy, one of the first companies to buy Bitcoin, but the most well-known as they make their way to owning 1 million Bitcoin in the very near future. Michael Saylor has warned, he warned that the growing institutional adoption of Bitcoin is going to transform the asset from an adrenaline-fueled investment strategy into a boring store of value as mega institutions demand lower volatility before entering the market. What happens is that when retail, smaller investors get into the market, in the cryptocurrency market during the bull run, they tend to do so in mass. It's like one big kind of event. They all enter the market. If the market falls by 3%, these people are new to the market and they get scared and they begin to pull their money out. And because they've attributed so much to the market cap, we get to the point where if they pull out too much, the drops become more and more dramatic. So a lot of times you've seen over the years that when retail or smaller investors sell, what always happens? What always happens? Whales buy up those coins. And it brings up prices, but it also stabilizes the market. We're seeing less volatility because there's richer people in the market. I couldn't figure out a way to actually phrase that properly. If you have 100 million people who all have a stock in company, and the company comes out with bad news, a lot of these people won't know what to do, and they'll start selling. It creates a gigantic cascade. If you have 100 companies or 100 rich people, not saying that wealth needs to be in the hands of the few. I want all of you to be rich as well. But what ends up happening is when they get that bad news, these companies usually won't sell. It tends to be retail who sell. And then those stock, as it were, tend to be bought up. That's why a lot of times you've noticed this year, if we had a dip in price, it took about 2 days as opposed to 3 weeks like it used to before, for it to kind of recover and just slowly begin to go back up with a 2-3% movement every 48 hours, what have you. This is how you make Bitcoin boring. This is actually diabolically genius because you make it so that normal people essentially don't pay attention to Bitcoin or to the market. The market's not really moving. I remember seeing it was 98,000. Well, it's 210,000, but it's not in the news. My friends aren't talking about it. They look again, it's 280,000. Yeah, but no one's talking about it. I think Bitcoin's over. If you make sure that normal people don't pay attention, they won't pay attention. They start buying Labubu's and To-Do-Do's and these are this is actually how it works. If there is something that rich people want for themselves, they accumulate 100 Bitcoin per day. They do it in big batches, but they announce it. You know how every single time we always hear that Meta Planet or MicroStrategy or companies have bought Bitcoin. It can be the 7th of September, and they'll announce on the 28th of August to the 21st of August, we purchased chunks and we purchased this cumulatively. So I think we might be moving into boring season. It's not even double-edged. It's actually kind of great. If Bitcoin remains boring or slow in its movements, it essentially means that more money, bigger capital will flow into the market. It also gives you extra chances to be able to accumulate should you choose to do so. You don't or wouldn't have to really worry about a gigantic movement up and then a gigantic slam down for 3 years. It would essentially mean over the course of multiple years, you can buy at the rate that you need to, knowing that things would essentially, work out in the end. The other side of the coin is that everyone else, the billions of other people who could have been in this market, they will definitely stay away. Something has shifted. I don't know exactly what. I assume it's just the amount of capital within the space, the amount of money that has pushed into the market that has caused us to be more, and I you don't use the word stable with Bitcoin, but more stable than previous other times before in the past. But this is how you get to $1 million without everyone else rushing in. This is how you get richer, how the rich get richer without everyone else paying attention. You buy up the real estate when prices are low, when no one's talking about it, when it's not on documentaries, when it's not a huge jump in price. You do this for other assets as well. You essentially buy low or you buy in whenever, and you hold on to that asset. We are here, but also going to be here by the end of this year. Don't forget all the staking protocols that are launching, that are to be launched on Bitcoin's blockchain, but also from the crypto exchanges. If you missed those videos, it's more so on the other channel, The Modern Investor, as we go over like multiple topics over the course of the day. Yeah, so Bitcoin staking is becoming a thing where you're going to be able to get 1, 2, or 3% yearly for your Bitcoin holdings. Imagine you buy Bitcoin at $100, Bitcoin goes to $740,000 and you make 2% from that. Imagine Bitcoin does a 10x from here. Imagine Bitcoin does a 15x, as we've been hearing all these analysts saying. Imagine we get to 2038 and Bitcoin's at $12 million. Why do you think all these companies are buying up so much Bitcoin and Ethereum? It's to not only have the asset rise in value, but to also essentially make passive income for at least the next 100 years. Yeah, Michael Saylor said Bitcoin is going to turn into a boring store of value as mega institutions continue to get into the market. I hope everyone has been paying attention to everything that's been going on. I hope you all benefit from it in some way. There's no reason for you not to. If these people are going to get rich, you need to do the exact same thing. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.